Good morning and welcome to the great British countryside. Now you're probably wondering, what's that idiot doing stood in a field getting wet feet? More about that in a bit. What I want to do is tell you what we're going to talk about today, and that is public charging. It's something that whenever I do a video, it always seems to attract lots of comments that people say, really interesting what you're saying, but actually I've never driven an EV, or I've had an EV for a long time and I've never been to a public charging point. And it just causes so much apprehension in people. So I thought I'd try and keep things simple today and give you just a brief overview of what public charging is all about, how to do it, what to expect, and try and avoid some of those embarrassing situations. So let's start with the basics. The car itself. All the cars are a little bit different, and this is where the initial confusion comes, because they've all got different plugs, they all work in different ways. You've probably heard a number of different plugs or names for different plugs, things like CHAdeMO, CCS, Type 1, Type 2. At the end of the day, they're just plugs. They just, you'll find out what your car is, you'll know what it is, and then forevermore, you won't be worried. But for example, in this Nissan Leaf 2015 one, it's slightly different than the new one, but in this one, I've got, on the left, I've got a Type 1 plug, which goes to a Type 2 on the other end. And on the right, I've got a CHAdeMO. CHAdeMO is for rapid charging, Type 1 is for all other charging. Pretty simple and straightforward. And if you have a look at this diagram, you'll see the other types of adapters or plugs that you're likely to see here in the UK. And you can see they've got different names, but ultimately they mean the same thing. It's a plug. Find out what your car is, and then you'll know. What I want to do now is go away and talk about the rapid chargers. They're the things that cause most people the most amount of anxiety. They are straightforward, but they're all a little bit different. They've got their own quirks. So I'm going to talk to you about that. But before we do, let me explain to you why we're here. The reason we're here, if I show you, I don't know if you can see that little black thing just buzzing away in the sky there. That's my new toy. And I thought I'd give it a go, see if it worked today. If it does, then hopefully we can use it a lot more in future videos. Right, that's more than enough messing about with that for now. On with the day. So, public charging, and in particular rapid charging. There's so many different varieties of it. They range from using RFID cards to apps to completely free. There's all sorts of different ways of doing it. So let's start with what is probably here in the UK the most popular or the most readily available type of rapid charger, and that's the electric highway, which you will also hear referred to as Ecotricity. Basically, Ecotricity are the people that run them. They're a power company, and they call their division of electric charging network, they call that the electric highway. So hopefully that's filled in a gap in case you weren't aware that they were one and the same. Now, to use their chargers, they run on an app. Now, it's varied over time, different ways, different pricing structures, and it will probably change again in the future. But for now, we've got an app. We've got a two-tier pricing structure. If you use Ecotricity's electricity or power at home, then you get it half price when you go to the charge point. If you don't, then you pay a bit more. Matters not. There's no point in me telling the prices because, as I say, they change all the time. So the actual process of getting electricity from that charger into your car. Now, it's classed as a rapid charger. This Nissan Leaf will accept through the CHAdeMO cable. That's the big one, which is probably the most daunting one. When you see it on the machine, it looks huge and it looks like something that you need to be qualified to use. It's very simple. It's just a plug. Just plug it into your car. There's a couple of different ways of doing it. The newer ones that they've been replacing, you do just press it in, you'll hear it click and lock in place, and that's it. To release it, you press the button on the top and pull it out. Very straightforward. If you happen to come across one of the older ones, It's the same plug at the front. You still just push it until it clicks, but you probably notice underneath is like a handle. It's a little bit like a petrol pump. Just make sure that handle's pulled up and the little retaining clip at the back of the handle is secure over it. And then when you remove it, simply press the button on the top, and you might have to just jiggle that retaining clip back and push the handle down, but you just pull it out. So don't be daunted by it. Just give it a go. Honestly, it's easy. And don't get all stressed by it either. Sometimes these plugs feel like they're a little bit awkward and they feel like they're stuck. They're not. There's normally a really good reason. Quite often it's because your car has locked it on. So some cars will have a you have to unlock it to unlock the charging cables. Sometimes they're just a bit awkward. Just take your time. Don't worry. Nobody's looking. Nobody's sort of judging you on what you're doing. People are generally just interested. So anyway, there's on the Ecotricity or electric highway rapid chargers, which charge at 50 kilowatts at the moment. They're upping it to 100 soon. That's just the rate of charge, or the amount of time it takes effectively for the electricity to get into your car. So if you look at the charger, you'll see there's a number of leads attached. You hopefully by now will know what lead will go into your car. So on the rapid chargers, there'll be CHAdeMO, there'll be CCS, and there'll probably be another, depending what your car takes. But most electric cars now will take one of those leads on there. Now on the app, handily enough, you will set the app up before you first go. So you put all your car details in and everything else, but you'll also tell it what car you drive, and it will tell you which lead to put in. So there's a little fail-safe for you. So fire up the app, and when you first get there, you'll park in front of the pump with your charging port nearest to it, and then just simply walk up to the pump with your mobile phone, with the app live, and you'll select for it to read the QR code on the pump. Sometimes it can be a bit fiddly with the light, but move it around a bit and it will pick it up. And that is basically telling the app where you are and which pump you want to use. It will then ask you a series of questions, tell you which charger to take, and tell you when to plug it in. Once it's all plugged in, it will lead you through the process, and then just give it a moment. You'll hear some clicking and whirring and the fan starting up in the back of the rapid charger, and you'll see your lights or your display, however it shows in your car, coming on to say that it's charging. Just stand there another 10-15 seconds and make sure you're absolutely happy it's charging, because sometimes it can get a bit funny and it will just drop off. But normally it works fine. So just don't do as I've done before. Think it's charging, go on in, spend half an hour in the service station, and then come out to find that nothing's happened, and then you've got to spend another half an hour there. It's worth those 10-15 seconds just to be sure. So that's it really. That is your electric highway in a nutshell. Very, very straightforward. And I'm saying it's very straightforward. I'd say it's probably one of the slightly more complicated ones because of the use of the app. If you can master this, you'll be fine everywhere else. Now, the other one I'm going to talk about, you might not have it in your area, but the principle is the same pretty much on all the rapid chargers. If you know how to use the next one I'm going to talk about, you know how to use electric highway, then I'll be honest, you'll be able to use any rapid charger. So the next one I want to talk about is Polar. Now, for me, I use Polar all the time. There's two levels of subscription with them. You can have effectively a pay-as-you-go, which is app-based, and it's very similar in that you just activate it when you arrive through your app, or you can have a subscription one, which is what I've got at the moment. Now, again, there's no point in me talking about prices to you because they change. So depending when you watch this, it'll be a different price, but I pay a monthly subscription to it. Now, in my local area, there actually isn't any Polar chargers at all. And this is where it really frustrates people. And this is where it becomes really difficult to understand the absolute minefield of chargers, charging companies, and ways of making the electricity get from that charger into your car. Now, a number of companies, such as Polar, have affiliations with other companies. So in my area, ChargeMaster are the company that install the rapid chargers. They're branded with ChargeMaster. There's nothing to do with Polar on them whatsoever. But because they're affiliated with Polar, it's the same company basically, and I have a Polar subscription, I pay substantially less. I pay my Polar subscription charges, which are generally, at the moment, again, this will all change, but at the moment, they are 9p per kilowatt hour plus VAT. So if you think I've got a 24 kilowatt hour car, it's never going to be completely flat when I get there. I probably put 10 to 15 kilowatts in a time. So that at 9p per kilowatt hour. Now, to make it work, Polar use an RFID card. So you apply for it, a card comes through the post. This is the subscription side of it. Card comes through the post, and I just keep it in here. In fact, it's normally pretty handy. There you go, Polar card. When I get to the machine, all I do is tap my card on the front of the machine and follow the instructions, which generally say which charging lead do you want. It's similar to the electric highway. You've got a choice. I know it's CHAdeMO, so I press the button for CHAdeMO. It then says plug it into your car, so I plug it into my car, and then go back to the machine and press the start button. You're then very similar, hear all the whirring clicks, beeps and buzzes. Give it a moment to make sure it's connected, and you can walk away and leave it charging quite happily then. So again, a very straightforward system with an RFID card. That is pretty much the only difference, that you don't have an app on this occasion. Now, Polar also have their own branded machines. They're called ultra chargers in a lot of places, and these do charge at a lot higher rate. I think they're something like 150 kilowatts they can charge at the moment if you've got a car that will accept it. All these companies are looking to upgrade, and 350 kilowatts is probably in the next 2 or 3 years going to be the standard, because cars will start being produced that can take that kind of charge. So the ultra chargers, the Polar ultra chargers, are no different in the way you use them. You still use your RFID card, and it's straightforward. It works in exactly the same way. It's perhaps a little bit clearer because they look a bit more modern. There's a nice colour screen. It feels a little bit more user friendly. But again, if you can use the other two, you'll easily use this. And finally, there's lots of different companies that offer different rapid chargers in different places. So you've got everything from a company called ABB, who are a massive multinational company. Their charge points, I certainly don't see many of them, but the ones I have seen, they're always free. You just plug in, press the button, and it charges for you. That's brilliant. The machine itself, it looks slightly different, but the principle's exactly the same. You still follow the prompts on the screen, plug it in, and press start. Very simple. There's other companies like Genie. For me, that one works on a website. So I have the website on my phone. I pre-charge it with, I think the minimum is £10, and then it's a little bit fiddly. I don't like this one very much, and I only use it when I'm absolutely desperate because it's quite expensive. You just follow the prompts on the website. So it asks you where you are, it initiates the machine, you then follow the prompts on the screen, and at that point it becomes exactly the same. You just plug it in and charge. The difference on that one is you have to pre-charge your account with some money, and then it takes it off. So they all just look a bit different, but the principles are always the same. So that is the rapid chargers kind of wrapped up in a nutshell, really. The future, as I said before, is going to be faster chargers. That's the big thing. But not only faster chargers, we've already seen one company say they're going to contactless payment. So forget the apps, forget all the cards, forget everything else. Just turn up with your bank card. And this is what we want. Shell, they're another company who've started installing rapid chargers. You access their chargers through an app. It's a Smooth with a V app. Again, they've said the future will be contactless payments, but for the time being, you do it through an app, exactly the same as I've explained with the others. So give it a go. Don't be afraid of it. If you give it a go, you will see actually it's pretty straightforward. It's nothing to be scared of. And once you've done it once, you'll be happy. And on hand, especially if it's during the day, the call centres, the customer service centres are always there. Just phone the number that's on the thing, give them the code for the machine you're at. It's written all over it. And generally they can get the thing working, and if they can't, they'll tell you where the next nearest one is. So just don't be afraid, give it a go. But that's rapid chargers. I'll talk to you next about more destination chargers, which are hopefully a little bit more straightforward. Do you know, I'm not going to insult your intelligence by taking you through every different type of destination charger. They're very similar in the way you access them to rapid chargers. So it's an RFID card or it's an app. And let's be honest, the future will be contactless payment. The chargers themselves are basically the same chargers as you get on your wall at home. It's normally a 7 kilowatt charger. Sometimes it's a bit different, and they're untethered. They might be dressed up differently. They might have different cowlings around them, mounted in different places. Ultimately, it's an untethered charger. And for that reason, you need to remember to take your own lead with you. Now, those leads aren't cheap. Some people get them included in the car, some don't. But ultimately, if you haven't got one, you're not going to be able to charge. So make sure you've got a lead with you. Just plug it in. It's normally a Type 2 plug, which hopefully you remember seeing on that chart before. And then it goes into obviously whatever plug is in your car. And then once you've accessed it, it charges at the rate it charges at. Obviously an awful lot slower than the rapid chargers. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell, really. I'm not going to labour the point. Public charging, really easy. Give it a go, and it will make your life an awful lot easier if you've been trying to avoid it up until now. Hopefully that video has been of some benefit to you. If it has, remember to like and share. And if you're not doing so already, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.